What is up, everyone? Welcome to today's live stream. So happy to be here with all of you. And today we're going to be talking about the $1 million mentality that helps you guarantee your own results in your business and also helps you attract premium clients. And this is such an important conversation because I know that if you're a coach, you are here and you're doing things in your business, but something isn't clicking. And when I work with my clients and we talk about the mentality of becoming a millionaire, the mentality of embodying who you get to be as a millionaire, it's so interesting that our conditioning blended with how we become who we are today and kind of like the misconceptions that we have about becoming a millionaire can really slow us down. And so what I want to talk about today is really not so much about making $1 million, but the mentality that's going to help you create that with a lot more ease. And I got to tell you that I really wish that somebody had told me this 5 years ago. So I really hope that what I'm going to share with you today, the 3 shifts that I'm going to share with you today, create a smoother path for you to really embody that if that's what you want for yourself. Now, this doesn't mean that only applies to people who want to make $1 million. This applies to you if you want to make whatever the number is for you. I feel like we're flooded with information or with some kind of, vision that we should all be millionaires and that if we're not making $1 million a year or yesterday, then we're failing. And I want to really dismantle all of those beliefs today because I don't know about you guys, I don't know about your upbringing, but I did not grow up in a family or in an environment where making $1 million was normal. My parents weren't having conversations about it. I'm a little girl from Colombia. I grew up in Colombia up until when I was 17. And then I moved by myself to Australia because I wanted a bigger life. But I was never in the conversations around making that kind of money. I don't come from that. People are just having conversations about it. I was in a third world country. So didn't even know how to speak English until I was 8. And I taught myself how to speak English. And I always had this dream in my heart, this desire to have a bigger life. But it didn't even occur to me at the time. I was 8 years old, 9, even 17, that $1 million was possible. And now that I am here making $2.5 million a year, more than 3 years in a row, and having a sustainable coaching business, living my life, my purpose, I really look back at who I was and who I've become. And really the most pivotal shifts have been made in my mind. It hasn't even been a tactical thing that I have done. I basically used the same strategies when I was at 6 figures and than what I am now. Things haven't really changed that much. But what has changed, what has completely revolutionized my life is the way that I think about myself and the way that I think about money and the way that I think about what's possible. And so this live stream is for you am I live on Facebook? I hope I'm live on Facebook because it's kind of doing this whole spinning thing. Okay, but I'm gonna continue here. So this is for you if you wanna be the first person in your lineage or in your family to become wealthy. Or maybe you already have created wealth, maybe you come from a wealthy family, but something about it feels heavy for you to actually do it in your own terms. I have a lot of clients who come from a lot of money, and even people who have money, they still have limiting beliefs around how to show up to become the person that they want to become and attract the kind of wealth they want to attract. And again, this is not about the million because the money is just a byproduct of who you become. This is about the process of becoming. This is about who you get to be, how you get to shift and how you get to shift the way you think about yourself to embody that result. So give me a 1 in the comments. Actually, I wanna hear, where are you at? What's your culture? What was the culture? Are you from, what kind of country were you born? And is the culture in your country one of millionaire, it's normal? Or did you grow up in conversations with your family where it was really normal? I have lots of friends whose parents are entrepreneurs, and it was normal for them to think about this, for them to be in these conversations, their parents, whatever. And that's a beautiful thing. It's just an interesting entry point, because even people who grow up in that arena still have their own journey to walk on. So I want to hear in the comments a little bit more about where are you from originally, and if your culture was one of wealth, where wealth was normal, or not. And I'm going to refresh my Facebook group because I don't know why isn't it going live? Let's do this. Okay. You know when you're like so into it and then all of a sudden, okay, here we go. Are we live? Are we live on Facebook? Can somebody tell me webcam? Something on Facebook is being funny. So I'm just going to continue here on Instagram. Okay. So the first thing that I want to share with you is that it's not about the goal that you set. So if you have a goal for $1 million, amazing, right? But it's not really about making the goal happen in reality. What is most important is to understand that it's about the person you get to become along the way. Because if you're using that $1 million goal, and I see this with clients all of the time and people that I come across, if you use that goal to punish yourself for where you're not, then the whole point of the goal itself is meaningless. It's pointless, because we should never use a vision, a goal, a desire against us. We should never use it for as a reason to make ourselves feel like we're not further ahead. And 90% of the world doesn't actually live in a world where you have a goal and then it inspires you. Like when I lived in Australia, I actually left Australia because the mentality there was don't be too much. Don't stand out too much. Don't be too ambitious. Don't want too much. You're being greedy if you want that much. Just stay calm, like chill out, just belong to the life that we create here, which is we get married, we have kids, we go to Bali for the wedding, and like that's just kind of how we do it. There's and same in every country, there's a certain kind of like average mentality or like common mentality that we need to break through. And so the important part around that is to understand that it's not really about getting the goal, because when you hit the goal, what you think of yourself right now is only going to amplify. So let's say right now you are thinking, I need to overwork in order to stay afloat. Making money is really hard, and I have to overextend myself and to my clients in order to create what I want. That, when you hit $1 million, is only going to be even more cemented and more amplified. And that's why I want to tell you today to catch yourself in these moments when you think, oh, when I make $1 million, I'm gonna be validated. I'm gonna feel good about myself. And just notice those thoughts. Are you currently thinking about yourself in an unfavorable way because you haven't hit your goal? Be honest with yourself. We can be honest here. Like, it's okay if that's what you have been doing. We all do it, because that's going to lead me to thing number one of what are the shifts that I implemented to go from literally struggling in my business, making like 60 grand a year, but like overworking, making $20,000 a year, like 7 years ago, and just absolutely feeling exhausted, to now working 2 days a week, making multi-million dollars. Like, how does that work? What did I have to change? And this one's gonna sound very simple, but it's very important, and I'm gonna tell you why. The most important thing that we do when we are in the place where we're at, where we don't have the goal yet, is we start looking at what we are not. What are we lacking? Why don't we have what the other has? So if you look at social media and you start comparing yourself to other people, that's shift number one. Quit comparing yourself to who you are not. Quit comparing yourself to who you are not. Because that, when I was doing all the hard working and not earning a lot of money, you know what I was doing majority of the time? I was comparing myself to other people. I would spend time, like practically and mentally. Mentally, I would do it. And then when you think about yourself as I'm not ahead enough, I am not doing enough, I need to do more in order to get there, I need to burn myself out in order to create the life that I want, you feel pressure, you feel anxiety, you feel urgency. And then what happens? You are crippled by that. And the only thing your system has energy to do is to find confirmation bias that you are right. So you scroll on social media, so you look at your peers in your masterminds and you see them get results, and then you compare yourself to that, and what you are doing in the process is affirming, I am not where I want to be. And it's hard for me, but it's easy for others. And that was the mentality for me. So I kept comparing myself, I remember, to one of my friends who started their business literally like 5 years after me. Like literally they were brand new in business. But this friend hosted an event that made $1 million. And I remember looking on Facebook and seeing that they had hired some kind of coach and that they threw this event and the event made $1 million. And I was thinking, oh my God, I feel like I have so much more experience. I'm the kind of coach that has done the work. Why don't I have $1 million yet? And all these people like randomly come online and they just throw an event and they make $1 million. And I just kept comparing myself to this friend. Years later, you guys, you know what happened? This friend tells me, yeah, a while ago, I threw an event and I made $1 million. I don't know if you remember. And I'm like, yeah, I remember watching from the sidelines. And I told him, I'm like, I was comparing myself to you so much. And it literally crippled me. And he's like, well, that's interesting because when I hosted that event, I felt so unfulfilled. I felt so stressed out. I felt so out of alignment. And it was just, I thought that making $1 million would make it all better. But I just felt so unfulfilled and I was so unhappy. And I'm like, what? How? I thought that literally that was I was idolizing this version of another person, thinking this is my goal. Becoming them is my goal. They're doing something so much better than me that I'm missing out, that I don't know. And you know what's funny? This person that I'm telling you about ended up selling their coaching business for $1 million because they couldn't actually keep up anymore, because they were stressed out. They weren't in love with it. They weren't coming from a whole, fulfilled, sustainable place. And what's interesting is that I didn't know what was going on behind the scenes. I had no idea. And here I am, so many years later, still having an amazing coaching business or having grown my coaching business to a place where I feel like I love it. I could not have it. I couldn't be anyone else other than who I am, and feeling so fulfilled and happy by the way that I've done it. It didn't happen overnight, but what I want to tell you is that it shouldn't. When you do anything overnight, it can crumble very easily. So if you're watching this and you're like, Juliana, I've been putting in the time, I've been putting in, the stripes. I have been coaching clients. I'm doing the thing. I'm looking at the vision. I'm holding it sustainably. I want you to know that that is the best way to create a foundation for $1 million, because $1 million can come and go really easily. And when you do it, I always get scared when people make a lot of money really fast. Not get scared, but I get worried about them. I'm like, you make money really fast. Do you actually know how to sustain that? Because when we don't go through the trials and the periods where we really understand the character that we need in order to create that over and over again, once we get it and we lose it, we don't know how. We were like, I actually don't know who I am. How did I create that foundation? I don't have a foundation. It came and it went. So if you're watching this and you're like, oh my God, I want to create more of the results. Like I want to see the $1 million tomorrow. All these people have it. Why don't I? Just notice that you're getting into the mentality of comparison. And comparison is poverty mentality. Comparison is saying, I have less, you have more. I'm always behind. I'm living paycheck to paycheck mentality. I don't know if I can create the life that I want because other people have more and I have less. And what does that do to you and to your own value? It just diminishes it. It diminishes your power. It diminishes your ability to believe that just the way they have it, I can do it too. And I am willing to take as long as it takes because I have love and I have compassion and I have love for myself. So notice the conversation that goes in your mind. Let's talk about the mentality of how you treat yourself in relation to your goal, how you treat yourself in relation to, because that's really what this is about. This is not about the goal of reaching 10 million or $1 million. This is about the relationship that you have with yourself as you create the goal. This is what this whole process is about. That's how you can get to the million and feel so secure and at ease with yourself because you know who you became is who created that. It's not that it came and went with some kind of tactic. So ask yourself, when you are with yourself alone, who are you being? Are you acting and being as your $1 million self, or your $10 million self, or your $500 self, $1,000 self? How are you being in alignment with the person that you want to become? Because I know that my $1 million self was not like, she, at the time, I was not in alignment with her because I was comparing myself to people, and that my $1 million self just would not do. And I'm not talking about the person that has money in the account. I'm talking about the wealthy woman, the wealthy man, the wealthy human that you are, that gets to feel wealthy inside. Meaning, when I talk to myself now, I don't go and say, oh, you're not at $10 million yet. You're not doing good. You're not doing a good job. You obviously are behind. You're obviously whatever. I don't do that. I stopped doing that back way before I made $1 million, because I recognized that the way I would get to a fucking $1 million is by being kind and loving and gentle. Otherwise, I'll be burned out and exhausted and resentful towards my business and towards the world and towards myself. So I want to invite you to understand, how would your $1 million self think about herself or himself? What are the thoughts, what are the feelings that they would think about themselves? And am I acting and feeling and thinking in alignment with that today? Am I acting and feeling and thinking in alignment with that? Really sit with that for a moment. Like the way that I talk to myself now, and you might think, oh, this is easy for you, Juliana, because now you've made the money. Now you've got, no, I actually started doing this back when I was in my apartment in Chicago many, many years ago, was nowhere near $1 million. And you know how I would say what got me out of the comparison and into abundance and propelled me into results and into momentum was when I decided I am no longer available for self-punishment. No longer, because that is slowing me down. And I'm too important. Like, I care too much about me to be the person that stops me. Like, what the fuck? Life is already hard enough. Business already is hard enough. Why do I need to now add another layer of self-punishment by me slowing me down? What the fuck? Hell no. So the conversation that I have with myself now, and that started back then, is, I am so fucking proud of you, Juliana. You did a live stream today. You did the thing that you didn't feel like doing. You coached your clients. You woke up today. You are here on this planet. I'm so fucking proud of you. I'm proud of you for who you've become through all the trials. And today we're just gonna take it one step at a time. And if I have a terrible day, I go to bed and I love myself for having lived through it. And I'm like, I'm so proud of you for going through that shit. Holy, like, what? It's such an honor to do life with you. I love you. You guys, we have to start by giving ourselves what we want from the world. Like, I didn't have anybody to give it to me. Like, I had a boyfriend back then and he was like, you got this. But even then I wouldn't believe him, right? Like, we want people to celebrate us, to give us all the, yeah, you hit this goal, amazing. But what happens when we don't have that? What happens when people don't celebrate us? What happens when people actually say, you shouldn't want so much, you shouldn't be so greedy, you should just stay average and be part of the crowd? What happens when we don't have any outside input to make us feel good? We are gonna struggle. And so the well of money comes from you, the way you treat yourself, from you coming home here and saying, I don't care if it takes 10 years, 5 years, or a decade, or 3 decades. We're going this because of who we become along the way. And the person that I have become today, I love. I love the person that I have become because I talk to myself with love. And that's way more important than a fucking $1 million. If I treat myself well, if you treat yourself well, there's no way you cannot hit the goal, because you're having love and support and you have a home within yourself. You don't have an enemy within yourself. So really understand, I could go on and on about this, because the concept of comparison is such a broke mentality that literally you take money away from you. You give yourself a pay cut. And I know you're probably thinking, oh, I've heard this before. This is so, Juliana, I've heard this before. Like, this is not news to me. If you're thinking that, my question is, why are you still doing it? Why are you still comparing yourself to other people if you know it's not good for you? Why don't you just decide as of today that the opposite, like the way to get to where you want to be is not by comparing yourself to others, but by actually pouring into you and telling yourself every fucking day how proud you are of what you have created and what you maybe couldn't create that day. That is the fuel that will give you energy to be sustained enough to reach not just 1 million, but more than that. Okay? Okay. Give me a 1 in the comments if this is landing. Give me a 1 in the comments if this is landing. Wow. Love this. Let me see the comments. Yes, I grew up in my family in poverty mentality. I had to work on it for years. I was watching something similar like this yesterday. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Okay. Let's talk about the second thing. So the second thing, I have notes. Okay. So the most important thing, when we talked about how we think about ourselves, the next thing is not just thinking good thoughts about yourself, because that's great. But when you feel the actual shift, when you feel, I'm so fucking proud of you. I love the way that you show up in the world. I couldn't not be this person anymore. Like when you actually feel that in your body, you're going to show up differently. And that's going to attract a different kind of people, different clients to you. Because you're not doing things because you should in order to create a result. You're not doing things because you have to, because you want to create some kind of result. You do it because you couldn't not. Because this is who you are. Like I'm doing this live stream because I couldn't help but to be this person. I do it because I want to become that person. And so thing number 2 is, are you operating from a transactional mentality? Because a transactional mentality is basically saying, I'm going to post this on social media, I'm going to do this live stream, and I am going to expect a result at the end. And I'm going to be obsessed on the metrics, and I'm going to be obsessed on the likes and the comments and the number of responses people give me. And based on that, I'm going to decide whether I'm good enough or not, or whether it's what I want is possible. That is called transactional mentality, and that happens to all of us at all points in the journey, but really is, I think, is like a part of entrepreneurship as an entrepreneur that you end up maturing into, or maturing out of, that helps you. For me, it helped me understand that it's a compound effect of all that I do and who I be that creates the result. It's not the one funnel, the one post, the one launch. Like I do one launch and I will never use the launch results against me. I'm gonna do a launch, and if I don't get the goal that I wanted, I'm gonna be so fucking proud of myself for still doing it. And there's another launch that I can create, and there's more. There's always a new phase. So instead of thinking of A plus B needs to equal C, otherwise I'm gonna give up, otherwise I'm gonna think that what I want is not possible, the invitation is to really do it because you are the person who just creates value. You are the person who cannot not share the message that you have for the world. You are the person who shares their wisdom, and it's just like who you are. This is not like a job. This is an identity. This is who you became. This is who you want to be. So is your $1 million self creating for the love of it? Or is your $1 million self creating out of obligation? I'm not available for a live where my future self is creating out of obligation. And so if I know that in order to spread my message and attract clients and create an amazing coaching business is to spread my message, then my only fucking option really that serves me is to do it for the love of it, to do it for the process, not to do it for the result. Because when we get stuck in the result and we measure everything against the metrics and the results, that's when we use the goal against ourselves. And that's when we lose power, lose stamina, lose energy, and feel crippled and feel defeated. And then that reinforces the reality, the fantasy that maybe is not meant for you. So you decide what option you want to operate from, with what mentality you want to operate from. But notice this in your launches, notice this when you create content, notice this in your sales calls. If you're attached to the person saying yes on the call, otherwise if she or he doesn't say yes to my package, then I'm going to make it mean that nobody wants it. People don't want to pay for it. What if you made it mean, perfect, this person's not for me, and I know that there are so many people who want this, who are willing to pay for it, and I only need 5 of them because I'm charging a premium price, right? It's so much different then when we like to be attached to the result, that's what creates the exhaustion. That's when I saw it in myself, create so much exhaustion to reach a goal when it wasn't required. And that's what kept me broke. And when I say broke, I mean just not creating the money that I wanted. Like my expenses were way more than what my income was, right? So I'm gonna just share that if these are things that you want to elevate, that you want to transform within yourself, I really want to invite you to apply to the Magnetize and Monetize Mastermind, because this conversation is what I coach my clients on a weekly basis. Inside of the program, I teach you how to clarify your message to attract premium clients. I teach you how to clarify your offer, how to make sure that you communicate it in a way that shows the value of what you offer, but also that feels really good for you, that is clear, that is concise, and that is effective. We work on the tactics, we work on the strategy, we work on the language, but we also work on your mind, because you don't need me to create a premium offer. You can come up and whip something up and then just go and share it. But what is going to actually create the result of you having clients pay you premium is the way you're thinking. And so the way you're feeling about yourself, the way you feel about your offer, the way you feel about your clients, the way you think about them, and it's all an internal game. So if you don't have the support if you don't have a room, a place where you're being supported in both arenas, in the strategy and in the internal operating system that is required for you to be able to embody this reality, it's going to be really hard to create the reality. That's why inside of the Magnetize and Monetize Mastermind, we do both. I teach you the steps to create a pathway to have premium clients, your offer, and this is not for people who don't have, for new coaches. This is for people who have experience coaching before. If I give you 10 clients, you would know how to create a transformation for them. You know what you're doing as a coach. You're really good at what you do. But when it comes to articulating the value of what you do, it's just not coming out strong and concise and powerfully. And so what I do is I help you refine your offer, elevate the quality of clients that you attract, clarify your message, and give you a content strategy and a creation strategy that makes people raise their hand and slide in your DMs and come to you, which is actually such an interesting thing. My clients are like, people are coming to me, I don't know how to handle this. And I'm like, welcome to my world. And then once they raise their hand, they're gonna want to talk to you. And so I teach you how to hold space in a really powerful sales conversation where you're not pushing, where you're not convincing, where you literally are holding the space for them to make the best decision possible. So I wanna invite you to apply, because right now you get the $1,000 off with the early bird before we actually kick it off in September. Make sure that you apply, the link is in my bio. And we, on top of what we do there, alongside, I coach you, I dismantle all the beliefs that are keeping you in poverty mentality or anything in the way of you feeling confident your ability to create results with the way that you are, the way that you think, and the way that you be in the world. That is what sustains the results in your life, okay? All right, my loves. I have one last thing to tell you, which is how to guarantee your own results, okay? So we talked about not having a transactional mentality, right? And coming from overflow, from the love of becoming being the person that you want to be, the $1 million self, right? And the last thing that I want to share is to guarantee your results and attract premium clients, you really have to understand that your coach doesn't create your results. So for me, when I was in my journey of creating clients and expanding myself, I thought if I pay somebody and I get into their program, I'm saved. And the reason why that doesn't work is because nobody can save us. Our results come from our thinking, how we think, how we feel, how we show up. That's where results come from. We are fully responsible for our own results. And so I used to give my power away to people, to coaches, and I thought they will give me the result. And I want to offer that when I realized that it was always me creating the result, my thinking, my being, the way that I act, the way that I show up, the way that I feel, how I show up when I don't want to do a live stream, how I show up when I don't want to write content, how I show up when I'm scared on a sales call. In the past, I don't do sales calls anymore, but when I was experiencing that was all my work. My coach couldn't do it for me. So what is important for you when you choose a coach is that you understand that they're also going to help you understand how you need to change your own thinking, how you need to upgrade your self-concept and your identity for you to be able to create the results, so that you don't create a codependent relationship and the illusion that a coach is going to fix it all for you. No, have a guide in your corner. Have a guide that tells you how to shift your thinking so that you can have what you want. Not just, a lot of people teach a lot of strategies and a lot of doing. And I'm like, you can have all the doing, you can have complex funnels, you can have anything. But if you don't have the mentality to sustain it, it's just not gonna, to troubleshoot it, to upgrade it, to change it, to evolve it, to pivot it, it's just not gonna work. So just remember that in order for you to guarantee your result of reaching $1 million, it doesn't start with giving your power away to a coach or to a system. It really starts with the way that you think about yourself. And so get yourself in a room where that is elevated, because that is the most important part of reaching the goals that you want and feeling actually wealthy, happy, and fulfilled along the way, not doing it because you thought that that's the way that person did it, and so that should work for you. And that's what we do inside of Magnetize and Monetize Mastermind. Like, all my clients have a different business model or different kinds of ways they do it, and it works for them, but we do it in a premium way. We attract clients that are more in the premium arena, that are willing and ready to pay you, that are coachable, that want to receive your support, versus people who are not committed to what you offer. Okay, my loves. Well, lucky for you, you on Instagram, you actually got the live stream. I think my Facebook group is still spinning, so I hope it was live. I don't know, but that was what I had for you today. I am sending you so much love. Let me just make sure that I don't have any comments to reply to. Okay, looks good. I love you all, and I'll see you next week. Bye.